Welcome back to Foresight Bureau. If you haven't seen our previous videos in the AI Job Apocalypse series, be sure to check them out. We covered why it's crucial to act now and make a survival plan so you can benefit from future opportunities even if you lose your job as a result of automation. Also, we touched upon exactly why white-collar and blue-collar jobs are at risk, and which companies are most likely to dominate the humanoid robot industry when they inevitably start to enter the workforce. We also provided a rationale for why we predict humanoid bipeds will become more widely deployed than any other type of autonomous machine. And in this video, we'll cover some of the implications that AI and robotics will have on society and why we think it's the perfect time to start investing in what we believe will soon become a multi-trillion-dollar business opportunity. We'll start by focusing on why we think AI and robotics will increase wealth inequality, then suggest what you can do to ensure you remain on the right side of the wealth gap. So here goes. The reason why we think AI will widen the wealth gap is that the world will increasingly become polarized between individuals, organizations, and nation-states that are able to attain AI supremacy, and those who get left behind. This technological chasm may very well create a profound economic rift, with AI-empowered entities rapidly accumulating wealth and power, while the rest struggle to keep pace. As automation and artificial intelligence become deeply embedded into every facet of society, the ability to harness these transformative technologies may separate the haves from the have-nots on an unprecedented scale. Those who fail to secure a foothold in the AI-driven future could be rendered obsolete, and this would irreparably damage their economic potential. This uneven landscape, shaped by the unequal distribution of cutting-edge AI capabilities, might therefore widen wealth disparities as concentration of resources and power falls into the hands of a technologically superior few. Just one example of many is NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang. At the time of making this video, his net worth just reached $100 billion, and will undoubtedly continue to rise much higher based on current trends. While automation promises substantial increases in global GDP through unprecedented efficiency in addition to massive productivity gains, it is crucial to address the potentially profound negative consequences that could lead to widespread social unrest and discontent among the general population. An indication of this was the public's fraught reaction to the unveiling of Sora, which clearly shocked OpenAI and served as a sobering indication to them that an increasing number of people are not comfortable with how rapidly AI is advancing. All kinds of content creators, from illustrators and graphic designers to actors, movie directors, and writers, expressed anger towards the company. Prior to the announcement, the team at OpenAI clearly thought that Sora would generate a universally positive reaction, but instead it was met with a deluge of negativity, fear, anger, and accusations that it could potentially harm creativity and violate intellectual property rights. This backlash caught not only OpenAI by surprise, but the entire tech industry, as it signaled a sudden and dramatic change in public sentiment. This unexpected reaction has almost certainly prompted a fundamental shift in strategy. In this post by the CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman, states that he will take a more iterative approach to deployment. What we think you'll see is fewer big announcements by the likes of OpenAI, Google, and others. Instead, we should probably expect a more stealthy approach where AI is discreetly integrated into existing product suites and operating systems. This boiling frog strategy might enable tech giants to stay on track without causing any further backlashes. Time will tell if this more measured, softly approach will help them repair and rebuild public trust and minimize resistance to future product releases. However, even if the general public can adjust, it is likely that governments will struggle to keep pace. The speed of technological advancement will outstrip regulators' ability to police big tech. That's because, among other things, tracking and monitoring highly mobile robotic assets such as flying cars and driverless cargo vessels, as well as trucks and every other type of vehicle imaginable, will become very difficult, especially if they are owned and operated by fully autonomous distributed organizations. When the machine economy is fully realized, it is poised to generate truly astounding profits as a result of income accumulated by millions of digital wallets embedded in a global network of fully autonomous air, land, and sea vehicles. They will traverse the globe, processing trillions of daily microtransactions across multiple time zones and national borders, determining ownership and calculating taxes owed to each nation-state as they pass through different sovereign jurisdictions. Could lead to confusion and potential conflict as competing nations vie for a share of the value generated as a result of autonomous machine commerce. Therefore, in the coming years, we'll likely witness an ever-increasing tug-of-war between tech giants, governments, and public opinion as society grapples with the implications of the machine economy. We also predict a winner-takes-all scenario where corporations could create monopolies that will potentially exacerbate the problem. That's because those who are among the first to obtain AI supremacy may use it to help them establish unassailable strategic barriers to block potential competitors and concoct highly complex and ingenious methodologies that will protect them from the threat of government oversight. This could lead to a significant portion of the machine economy's activities to be unregulated and the value generated untaxed, mirroring existing practices by multinationals using unscrupulous accounting practices, hidden bank accounts, and unregistered offshore shell corporations. In fact, the implications of AI supremacy are so profound that governments worldwide are closely monitoring potential AI frontrunners as they recognize how critically important it will be for national security and global economic stability. In the United States, wealth inequality is already a stark reality. The disappearance of millions of manufacturing jobs due to automation will further exacerbate this issue. As intelligent machines replace human labor across various sectors, wealth and power will further concentrate in the hands of the few who own and control these technologies. This could potentially lead to social unrest and instability, reminiscent of historical patterns where extreme wealth disparities have fueled societal upheaval. Since this data was compiled in 2023, the top 1% now own around 35% of the nation's wealth. This shift in economic power from labor to capital ownership is evident in companies like Amazon, where automation is replacing human workers, enriching owners and investors while displacing employees. If current trends continue, a significant portion of global economic output could become capital-driven, potentially leading to a catastrophic wealth gap reminiscent of the Gilded Age. A report by the International Monetary Fund stated in most scenarios, AI will likely worsen overall inequality, a troubling trend that policymakers must proactively address to prevent the technology from further stoking social tensions. It is crucial for countries to establish comprehensive social safety nets and offer retraining programs for vulnerable workers. However, even with proposed solutions like retraining and universal basic income funded from the proceeds of robot taxation, the immense wealth accumulated by a technological elite could render these measures insufficient. Rather than agree to pay their fair share, they might be tempted to use their immense wealth and power to maintain their position, thereby rendering governments helpless and leaving a permanent underclass with few economic opportunities. In this evolving landscape, compute, the fundamental resource powering AI, could become a scarce and coveted commodity. While services like Claude, ChatGPT, and Gemini offer limited free access, the true power of AI may be accessible only to big corporations and wealthy individuals who can afford to acquire as much compute as they like, and maybe even far more than the amount they actually need. This could create a stark divide between the haves and have-nots in an AI-driven world, not just among individuals but also among nation-states. Even a drastic decrease in compute costs wouldn't guarantee universal access. Increased demand would likely offset any price reduction, ultimately restoring compute to a price point unattainable for most. This potential scenario highlights the risk of a widening digital divide, where access to advanced AI capabilities might one day become a privilege rather than a right. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, proposed the idea of universal basic compute as an alternative to universal basic income.
Now that we see some of the ways that AI is developing, I wonder if there's better things to do than the traditional conceptualization of UBI. I wonder if the future looks something like more like universal basic compute than universal basic income. And everybody gets like a slice of GPT-7's compute, and they can use it, they can resell it, they can donate it to somebody to use for cancer research. But what you get is not dollars, but this like
productivity
slice. Yeah, you own like part of the productivity.
While AI vendors may continue to offer tantalizing free access, or as Sam Altman put it, universal basic compute, it will almost certainly be offered with reduced capabilities and stringent restrictions. Although this limited free-to-use model might initially appear as a charitable gesture, one could envision a scenario where certain ethically compromised vendors might be tempted to employ this revenue strategy as a means to lure customers into developing an unhealthy dependence on AI. Should vulnerable individuals become reliant on these AI offerings, they could potentially face significant financial hardships if they are unable to afford continued access. Consequently, they may struggle to function adequately and participate as productive members of society, having grown accustomed to the assistance provided by advanced AI capabilities. This predicament draws parallels to tactics employed by purveyors of addictive substances who strategically provide free samples to hook potential customers before demanding escalating payments to sustain their newly acquired dependencies. In essence, while the initial offer of free AI access may seem innocuous or even altruistic, it could potentially devolve into an unethical ploy to create AI dependency, ultimately benefiting the vendor at the expense of the customer's financial well-being and self-sufficiency. We think this issue of AI dependency will become increasingly important because we predict that AI will be as vital as smartphones are today. Once seen as luxury items accessible only to the privileged few, they are now indispensable. Recent surveys overwhelmingly revealed that individuals feel far more inconvenienced by the loss of their smartphone compared to other personal belongings like wallets, laptops, or even house keys. That's because increasingly obtaining access to governmental resources and services cannot be done without a smartphone. As nations go cashless, smartphones will become even more essential for every citizen for things like proof of identity and payment for basic goods and services. In an increasing number of countries, it has already become impossible to function without one. For example, in China, the only way to donate money to homeless people is via WeChat Pay, as cash has been totally phased out. It's important to note that as far as we know, there's no evidence to suggest that big tech companies are intentionally engaging in unethical practices. However, the industry isn't without its flaws. Recently, OpenAI faced accusations from former employees alleging that the company's CEO is prioritizing product development over ethics and safety concerns. While that's a topic for another discussion, it's worth mentioning. The reason why AI service providers limit access boils down to simple economics. Nearly every aspect of computing is expensive, and AI service providers must ration access and carefully manage usage to cover the costs of energy consumption and the immense overhead of maintaining their vast infrastructures. However, as energy becomes more abundant and therefore less expensive, AI service providers may be tempted to keep prices high by resorting to another manipulative tactic: artificial scarcity. This ethically dubious practice is already prevalent today, serving as an effective but unscrupulous way to inflate prices and maximize profits, particularly in commodity-driven industries. Instead of allowing market forces to fairly determine the market value, a few powerful entities collude to control production and artificially fix prices. A prime example is OPEC's blatant manipulation of oil and gas production, but this practice extends to other commodities like perishable goods and precious metals. Let's now explore what potential ramifications could arise if artificial intelligence were to exacerbate today's wealth gap even further. Should a select few powerful entities attain AI supremacy, they might choose to wield their newfound almost godlike powers in potentially terrifying ways that are hard to comprehend. If left unchecked, this could not only exacerbate inequality between individuals and nation-states but also potentially eliminate the middle class globally and increase the risk of regional conflict, or even widespread war. We're already witnessing a divide between nations that are comfortable with the petrodollar's continued dominance as the global reserve currency for international trade and nations that are working together to challenge the status quo. A similar battle is starting to play out over compute, which may lead to countries fighting over the resources and materials needed to establish and operate sovereign AI systems. That's because data is increasingly becoming as, or even more, important than oil. We're already seeing signs of this potential scenario unfold. The West, having understood the strategic importance of obtaining and retaining AI supremacy, are already colluding to impose trade embargoes on China and other strategic adversaries in order to make it hard, or even impossible, for them to gain access to raw materials, IP, and advanced chip fabrication technologies. This, they hope, will prevent them from being able to challenge Western AI superiority. Such moves to monopolize and restrict the flow of AI-enabling technologies could sow the seeds of international tensions and potentially lead to a technological arms race. Nations deemed to be lagging behind in the race for AI supremacy may view these trade barriers as existential threats to their economic and national security interests, prompting retaliatory actions or even open hostilities. The high-stakes nature of this competition, coupled with the finite and unevenly distributed resources required to power the machine economy, could breed an environment of mistrust, rivalry, and escalating conflict on the global stage. Another major potential outcome worth considering is a scenario where automation fosters the emergence of a useless class, individuals deemed economically irrelevant in an automated world dominated by a techno-elite. The prospect of mass unemployment, extreme wealth concentration, and the disappearance of the middle class paints a bleak picture for our future. However, let's consider a very different scenario where scarcity and wealth inequality are eradicated thanks to artificial superintelligence and automation. Imagine a future where machines do all the work and every human is provided with everything they could possibly need with unlimited leisure time. Sounds ideal, doesn't it? Well, not so fast. If this future world were ever to materialize, it could create a very different set of challenges. In a world of abundance, almost everyone could end up joining the useless class, and that could lead to widespread enfeeblement, a debilitating condition that often leads to serious mental health problems. The feeling of enfeeblement is common among those who lose their jobs and become reliant on benefits. Even if their basic needs are met, they still experience an erosion of self-respect, agency, and a lack of purpose. Enfeeblement could also cause a widespread decline in critical thinking, problem-solving, and self-sufficiency, ultimately creating a less resilient and fragile society. Would a life of excessive comfort in a world where AI has solved every major challenge, from climate change to life extension, be a desirable outcome? I'll leave it to you to discuss in the comments section. But there's no doubt that excessive comfort and lack of purpose can have a detrimental impact on the human spirit, as seen in the malaise that sometimes affects those born into wealth and privilege. Striking a balance would be ideal. Providing people with a sense of purpose, meaning, and the drive for achievement is a crucial aspect of what it means to be human. The thing is that throughout history, the human race have repeatedly made choices that have led to negative outcomes. You don't really need me to tell you that, of course, in the majority of cases, negative choices were motivated by greed and the pursuit of power. As simple creatures, we just can't seem to help ourselves from making the same mistakes over and over again. With this unfortunate reality in mind, it's more likely that the machine economy will overwhelmingly benefit the techno-elite while negatively affecting the masses. History tells us that such stark wealth disparities inevitably lead to increased social unrest and political instability. And it looks like history is repeating. As the cost of living crisis worsens and discontent grows, the super-rich are starting to get nervous. Perhaps they can see the writings on the wall. Evidence of their unease is starting to emerge, despite their efforts to conceal their actions. Stories have been appearing in the press with increasing regularity, detailing the extreme measures taken by wealthy multimillionaires and billionaires to protect themselves. These include fortifying their residences, relocating to remote areas, or even building luxury bunkers. Moreover, it hasn't escaped my notice that an increasing number of the ultra-wealthy are liquidating their assets and converting their stock portfolios into cash. This suggests they might be preparing for potential turmoil. Perhaps they are just paranoid, or they foresee that an increasing number of hardworking people are reaching the point of desperation. If people lose their homes, businesses, and livelihoods, they may resort to drastic measures, unleashing their frustrations on those they perceive as responsible. This could lead to widespread societal upheaval. This is especially the case in the United States, where the upcoming election is likely to yield a divided electorate, with a sizable segment dissatisfied with the outcome. Such a scenario could further exacerbate existing fractures within the nation, straining the social and political fabric. In addition to economic headwinds, geopolitical tensions are also on the rise, with the very real possibility of conflict between Western nations and strategic rivals in regions like Eastern Europe and Asia. It is not our place to suggest how civil unrest or geopolitical conflict could be avoided. Our job is to make predictions based on the available information in an objective and dispassionate manner. What we can do and what is the primary purpose of this video is prepare you for what might happen and suggest ways you can potentially protect yourself and even benefit financially from future opportunities even during times of change, civil unrest, and economic instability. Shifting gears from the somber topic of wealth inequality, let's explore how you can thrive in the machine economy by investing in promising tech startups and gaining a stake in the burgeoning AI and robotics value chain. This presents a unique opportunity to generate wealth and passive income from a trillion-dollar industry in the making. However, it's crucial to note that success requires meticulous research, an understanding of emerging trends, and in-depth knowledge of AI, robotics, and automation across many different sectors. In future episodes, we'll go on a journey together that will hopefully lead to obtaining potentially lucrative positions that will yield significant returns over time. We will never offer get-rich-quick schemes because the way to generate sustainable wealth is to get in early, think long-term, and exercise patience. As Warren Buffett once said, the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. We'll take a macro view and consider all kinds of different asset classes, from commodities and stocks to exotic assets such as digital tokens and cryptocurrencies. Why are they important? The backbone of the machine economy is made with a vast array of commodities such as gold, copper, lithium, silicon, etc., used to make everything from semiconductors and batteries to wiring, actuators, motors, and sensors. These fundamental components form the building blocks that enable the creation and operation of robotic machines. Stocks, on the other hand, represent the opportunity to invest in and gain exposure to some of the world's most pioneering and innovative companies at the forefront of technological advancement. To find out more about which robot companies are leading the way, check out our previous video, AI Job Apocalypse Part 3 Humanoid Robots. As autonomous machines become increasingly prevalent, they will require a means to transact and exchange value. This is where tokens come into play, serving as a digital medium of exchange for machines to facilitate transactions, whether for gateway access, data acquisition, energy consumption, or processing power utilization. If you think about it, it makes perfect sense. Autonomous machines will not use conventional fiat currency, as it is not fit for purpose. Traditional money was created by people for people, but machines need an entirely different form of currency that can be transacted within milliseconds, at almost zero cost, in tiny increments of value such as 1/1000th of a cent or less. This type of commercial exchange is almost incomprehensible to us humans because we operate on a completely different time paradigm, but makes perfect sense for machine-to-machine commerce. To truly capitalize on the machine economy, therefore, it is vital to accumulate a portfolio that spans the entire supply and value chain, including raw materials, semiconductors, logistics, and energy solutions. In summary, the machine economy offers both vast opportunities and formidable challenges. While it holds the promise of heightened efficiency and productivity, it also carries the risks of job displacement, wealth disparity, and societal upheaval. Navigating this emerging era therefore demands innovative and comprehensive strategies. I hold an optimistic view that those in positions of influence, big tech executives, regulators, and politicians, will ultimately make the right decisions. As Winston Churchill famously remarked, America can always be counted on to do the right thing, after they have exhausted all other possibilities. This sentiment is particularly pertinent as the United States currently leads the world in AI and robotics. And that concludes this episode. At Foresight Bureau, our mission is to equip you with predictions and actionable insights that can pave the way for a brighter, more prosperous future. In the ever-evolving landscape of the machine economy, staying informed and proactive is crucial. To ensure you remain ahead of the curve, be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Disclaimer: this content is intended for entertainment purposes only. We do not guarantee the accuracy or completeness of the information provided. We are not responsible for any losses or damages that may arise. Nothing should be interpreted as investment or financial advice.